Hi guys, we're going to start with plus and minus of fractions, and I'm going to start right at the beginning like you started in grade 4, where your fractions already had the same denominators and then you only plus the numerators. Very, very important when you work with fractions. You never ever plus your denominators together. You're only going to plus your numerators. So when your denominator is already the same, you can go and write the denominator down with the division line, and then you just add your numerators. 2 plus 3 is 5. So my answer there is 5 over 6. The minus works exactly the same. I do not minus my denominators. I can go and write my denominator, whatever that denominator I can write down. And then I say 4 minus 3 is 1. So this is our basic plus and minus with fractions, like you've been doing from the very beginning. Now the concept stays exactly the same. It just becomes a little bit more tricky because they give you a bit more variation. Okay, the next work that you got, they gave you different denominators. Okay, you have to change the denominators to make them the same first. In this work, they made it so that you could change one denominator into the other denominator. So you only had to change the one side. So what you do over here, you times by 3. Then your denominators will be the same. So now you've got your new fraction, 9 over 12 plus 5 over 12. Okay. Now, like we said in the previous things, we do not add our denominators. So our denominator stays the same. 9 plus 5 is 14. Okay. I can't leave it as 14. Okay, because it's an improper fraction. So I have to change it to 1 because there's 1, 12 and 14. And what left over is 2 over 12. Again, I can't leave 2 over 12 because it's not in simplest form. So my final answer will be 1 and 1 over 6. Okay, the minus works exactly the same. First things first, make my denominators the same. 8 over 10 minus 2 times 2 is 4, 5 times 2 is 10. 8 minus 4 is 4, 10 minus 10 stays 10. I cannot leave it like that. I've got to go change it. I change it by dividing by 2, and my answer is 2 over 5, which is my final answer. Now we're going to get to the only thing that is slightly different in grade 7. Now they're going to give you sums where you can't change the one side into the other side. In other words, now I have to change both my denominators to make it the same. Okay, now what some lazy people do is they just go and times this side by 9 and that time by 6, but then your numbers get very big and you start making plus and minus mistakes. Often people don't know their times tables and then they also mess that up. So what I want you to do is you're going to write down the multiples of 6. Okay, you only have to do like the first 4 or 5, and then you're going to write down the multiples of 9. In other words, whatever your denominators are, those are the multiples you're going to write down. Okay. With 9, I only have to go up to 18 because now I've already found the denominator, the number that appears in both of them. In other words, the factor of both of them. So now I can see my 6 side, I have to times by 1, 2, 3. And the 9 side, I have to times by 1, 2. And now I'm going to get new fractions. I'm going to get 9 over 18. And I'm going to get 8 over 18. Okay. Now I'm going to plus my top together. 9 plus 18 is 9 plus 8 is 70. And that is my final answer over there. So this is the only new work that you're actually going to do in grade 7, where the denominators are both different and you have to make it the same by changing both sides. Okay, Then here in grade 6, you started working with mixed numbers. Now they gave you a whole number and a fraction, but your principle stays exactly the same. In other words, your denominators has to be the same first. Okay, so your first step is to make your denominators the same. In this case, I can change the one side into the other side again. So I've got 4 and 4 over 6 plus 6 and 5 over 6. Okay. Then I can go and plus my two whole numbers. 4 plus 6 equals 10. And then I can go plus my numerators. 4 plus 5 equals 9. Okay. The problem is that I cannot leave that like that, because that is an improper fraction. And all improper fractions have to be changed to mixed numbers. So I already have 10, that was my answer of my whole numbers. And then I add to that 1 and 3 over 6. Okay, that 1 and 3 over 6 is that 9 over 6 that I wrote as a mixed number. There are 1, 6 and 9, and 3 over 6 is left over. Again, I go and put them together. Okay, I'm still not done, because 3 over 6 is not in its simplest form. To do that, I have to divide by 3. And my final answer is 11 and a half. Okay, so very important when you start working with the mixed numbers is that your final answer has to be in its simplest form, and there can't be any improper fractions. Okay, now the minus can be a bit tricky. Okay, let's quickly do an example like that. First of all, make my denominators the same. Easy, because it's only one side I have to change. Okay, now the problem is 4 minus 1 I can do, that's 3. But I cannot take 7 over 8 away from 1 over 8, because 6 over 8, because 6 over 8 is bigger. But just like we borrowed a normal plus and minus sum, we can borrow in fraction plus and minus sums. So we're going to borrow from that whole number, so they only have 3 left, and those numbers over there is going to get an 8. The reason why they get an 8, because my denominator is 8, 1 equals to 8 over 8. I can't just give them 1, because that means that I'm giving them one piece of a cake. I've got to give them a whole cake that's been cut into 8 pieces. So that is where that 8 comes from. Then I go and write my fraction as a new fraction, so I don't mess it up. Now I can minus. 3 minus 1 equals to 2. 9 minus 6 equals to 3 over 8. And that is my final answer. Okay, I'm going to do another one like that where you have to borrow. Okay, this one is a grade 7 one again, because now we've got to change both sides. I'm not going to write out all my multiples again, because I've already done this, and I know that 9 has to be times by 2, and the 6 side has to be times by 3. Okay, then I've got 5 and 2 over 18, minus 2 and 15 over 18. Okay, problem again, I cannot take away 15 from 2. So now I have to go and borrow. I borrow from my whole numbers. They've got 4 left, and they get whatever my denominator is there, they get at the top, so they get 18. My new fraction is 4 and 20 over 18 minus 2 and 15 over 18. And now everything is hunky-dory, everything is smaller, so I can minus. 4 minus 2 is 2. And 20 minus 15 is 5 over 18. Okay, guys, if you still battle with this, you're welcome to go and watch it again. Look at the examples again. Do the examples with me as I go through them. And now you should be able to do all the examples that's on the worksheet, and even the ones that's this year's work that's in the textbook.